Ready? Everybody ready?
I'm ready.
Cindy, ready? All right, let's get started. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Bristol Township Zoning Hearing Board. I'd like to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and remove your hats for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, one other thing before we get started, I want to thank all the veterans today for Happy Veterans Day. Thanks for your service. With that being said, I'll introduce you to a few people. Our solicitor, Keith Billemeyer, Director of L&I, Bob McTeague, our stenographer, Cindy Oliveira, and Mr. Secretary, call the board, please.
Colleen Dunn.
Here.
Mark DeMarcus.
Here.
Andy Gorilla.
Here.
Jim McMahon.
Here.
Ed Murphy. Here.
Okay, let's get started with the agenda. Number one on the agenda, James Carlson, 605 Linton Avenue, Croydon. Please come on up.
I am not here in any capacity as attorney. This is my brother.
Okay.
I am here as his advisor.
Can you hit the green button on the mic?
I will be speaking.
Sure, go ahead.
Can you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
State your name, please.
And my name is John Carlson. On behalf of my brother James Carlson,
1 second. Is it C-A-R-L-S-O-N?
correct.
Thank you.
Okay, before you get started, you have your mail-ins?
Yes.
Please bring them up to the solicitor, please.
These are mailings, receipts, and I got letters of approval from the neighbors also.
Okay, and was the property posted? Did you post the placard? Okay.
14 days.
Okay, it was done. Do you know the date of it? Do you know the date that was posted?
Yes, it was posted with it.
On the 20, it says the 21st, I posted it probably about the 23rd.
You should probably swear him in and then come back.
Yeah.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Carlson, you just stated that the property was posted, you believe, October 23rd, 2024.
Yeah, I came in here on the 20, yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Great, thank you.
Okay, you can proceed.
We had supplied all the information to the board, so we had presumed you had reviewed it. That's pretty much what we're here for case-wise. I figured that was your guys' homework. And considering it Veterans Day, I consider it very appropriate to hear this case first, considering this is in regards to veterans and disabled veterans. Did anybody review this ahead of time, or is this all new?
I reviewed it.
Okay.
Well, for the record, let's go over it again.
Absolutely. So my brother, who's a disabled veteran, purchased the property through the VA loan. The VA had come and inspected the property, and for his condition, they said this property was applicable and would fit well for his PTSD. When he had purchased the property, it had a 6-foot fence around it, which helps him. Which helps him. It had a 6-foot fence. Now, this fence was getting old and dilapidated, so he merely replaced it as existing. And now, there comes fines and other things that the fence is only allowed to be 4 feet high. So this kind of gets the VA and the ADA involved because they approved this location and this was as existing, and now you guys want to say that's not available and not possible. So that's why we are here asking for an exemption. And you will see proof in that packet of his disability and that he is, you know, being taken care of the government for serving our country, which is a service position.
All right, so that's all you got? Okay,
Yes. There's several pages. I mean, there's,
listen, listen, let's lose the two, all right? All right, so we're up just here to, as volunteers, to figure this all out. We don't need all the
I understand
vitriol
that.
here from you.
I
okay?
understand that, sir.
Right.
But in an effort of expediting, I
Yeah.
think everybody here would like to get home on a federal holiday, and
Listen,
you have homework.
again, we're volunteers here. We're doing our job, all right?
Okay.
So we'll take as much time as we need or as less time as we need.
That's
all right?
fine.
You're not gonna determine that right now,
That's fine.
okay?
That's no
So
problem, sir.
I want you to repeat what you're repeating for the record, for the people out there that doesn't have this packet. Is that a
They get
a problem?
Do they get a vote, sir?
Is that a problem with you?
No,
No, but it's
it-
part of the public
it's not.
record.
Okay. Could I have the packet? Sure. Absolutely.
I don't know which one you want.
So, this appeal was filed to the zoning board on September 20th. Now, the applicant requests that there's a special exemption or special exemptions or to grant a variance, okay? And the applicant would be James Carlson right here of Linton Ave in Croydon. He would be the owner of the property. And the date the original application was submitted would be August 15th of this year. And the date that that original decision was done was August 29th of this year. And the relief that we're requesting is for the fence height, not around the entire property, but just on the front yard. And then, this regards section 205-134, which is fences, upon there is a rule that the fence height must be 4 feet on the front side of the property, which was pre-existing. Now, please explain what you want to do and the reasons. So here is packet A that I submitted to the board, and we will start with packet A. So, issue number one, Mr. Carlson is a disabled veteran and therefore is entitled and protected by the American Disabilities Act and also by the VA. Mr. Carlson needs to feel he is secure in his environment due to PSTD from a military service. He purchased the property because of the fence. Then we go to C attachment B, which I will go through here, which is his military ID, and along with proof that he actually is receiving military benefits for his disability. Okay? Then you'll see at the bottom the VA special issue hotline and the ADA hotline written out. Let's see. Then we are going to go to, let's see where I left off here. Whew, a lot of paperwork. Attachment A, B, tax parcel number 0501278. The street address is 605 Linton Ave. The lot size is 139 by 117 with one existing building and the building is described as a home. The zoning classification is residential. It is 100% used as residential, and there is no change in the use. So the following items must be included with your appeal. We have included the appeal from the zoning board, the original application to the code enforcement officer, as well as the rejection letter of the code enforcement officer. We have included a property plot plan, plot plan. Floor elevations were not applicable. The deed was submitted. Lease agreement is not applicable. The document of establishing your right as an agent is not applicable. Exhibits, diagrams, and pictures, they are included, and they would be noted as A through D. Okay, we are on A so far. And let's go through what else we have. I can read for you guys. Whoops, look at that. So we will go to packet B. We saw that. So packet C, you will see the plot plan, which shows you where the stop sign is and where it's on the corner. You'll also notice in that packet many commercial buildings at the end of this road. All of these commercial businesses use that street with heavy commercial trucks. They're actually concrete businesses. So these are 18-wheelers going up and down your, 25-mile-an-hour driveway every day, which is another reason that we asked for this exemption, just because of it's a residential road being used for completely commercial purposes, and only that road. Then we can go to D, which clearly states that the fence was put up over the old fence. So there's no change to what was there. You can still see the old fence today. And the other picture still shows the new fence on top of the old fence. I do not recommend this, folks, but that's the way it is. Is there anything else that I can offer for you, Mr. McMahon?
Bob, what you got?
Yeah, so, the original fence didn't have a permit, Jim, so notice of violation was sent, and then the application was applied for, and it was denied because of the, fence height.
Okay. So this is all during Mr. Carlson owning the property?
Well, the original fence was put up by the previous homeowner without
Okay.
a permit.
30 years ago, it's been up.
The new fence came in, and that's when it was denied.
Okay. In reference to the VA and all that other stuff, does that involve us whatsoever?
No, sir.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Anybody from the board have any questions for Mr. Carlson?
I do.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Why wasn't the existing fence taken down and a new one put right on top of?
It's a lot of work. Go ahead.
The existing fence. The existing fence that was there was old, getting moldy and everything else. It was in perfectly straight line, so I just put the new fence attached to the old fence.
Do you anticipate removing the old fence?
Not at this point in time, no.
So, in the other areas of the property, the entire fence was replaced because the posts were rotten. For this particular run, the posts were still in good condition, so that's why it was left in place.
Anything else, Colleen?
No, thank you.
Kidding.
How far does the fence come to the front of the property?
They park between the road and the fence, so I'm gonna say like 2 cars width. Approximately between these 2 tables, between like the edge of the road and where the fence begins.
It comes right up to the right of way, Andy, and by code, that's allowed.
But there's no obstruction of view coming around the corner or anything like that?
There's none listed on the fine or violation. That wasn't what the violation was for.
Yeah, from the stop sign standpoint, I don't think there is, Andy, but I would have to recheck that.
So not involved in the site triangle whatsoever?
It's within the property line.
Okay, all right. So, we're here for, did they get a permit, or,
They applied for the permit and it was denied.
okay. All right. Anybody else?
I would like to add that it was installed before the permit was applied for because it was existing. He didn't think it needed a permit. He was just replacing an existing fence.
Go ahead, Ed.
Who installed the fence? You did it yourself?
Me and friends, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Keith, you have anything to add? Okay. Any public comment on this application?
I gave you,
Come on up, ma'am. Here.
Thank you. My name is Jill Saul, S-A-U-L. Yes, S like sunshine. Yeah.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes. So I don't know this gentleman. I've never met him before, but as I'm listening to this, what I'm hearing is that he's improved the look of his property on the outside, which is what I think I would be most concerned about if I were his neighbor, is how it looked from the road. And that's my only comment.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come up? We got time.
Hi, my name is Corey Lynn Bercute, Bercute, Yllyn.
L-Y-N.
Yep, Bercute. Sure.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do. I was just wondering, like, with it having been attached to the fence that was already there, like if he's just replacing something, how can that be an issue? Like like she said, he just is improving his property. Like, I'm just wondering,
It's not supposed to be above 6-foot fence to begin with.
Right, the ordinance for the height of a fence in the front yard is 4 foot.
I understand, but it was
So-
there when he bought it.
I understand, but
When it's been replaced, then you need a permit to get it replaced, and then it should not have been replaced with a 6-foot fence.
I understand, but didn't you replace it before you knew that?
yes, I did.
And then you got a notice that it was wrong?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to understand. That's all. I'm not knocking anybody.
It was an existing fence, but thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? All right.
I'll make a motion to approve as long as the, old fence is removed.
I'll second that.
Oh, wait, oh, let's not go too far now. Do you agree to that condition if that gets approved?
I just want some clarity on that. Like, do you mean
The
the,
dilapidated fence has to go,
okay, how about the posts? Because that's the expensive part. It's-
not back-to-back new and old fence. So the post, as long as there's one,
Okay,
fine, not
just
two.
to clarify.
not like old fence, new fence, like,
That's fine, just to clarify that posts can stay. Okay.
All right, I got a motion, I got a second from Mark DeMarcus. Call the board, please.
Andy Gorilla,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus. Yes. Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Colleen Dunn,
yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
Thank you. Oh, one more issue. Going through this process, I got a lot of, non-traffic summons tickets and everything.
If you stop up to the building and planning office tomorrow, we can discuss that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
This guy is smokers.
Huh?
So the guy is smokers.
Yeah.
Your brother would have been better off by
Yeah.
himself.
just remember, everybody out there, you need permits for everything, okay? If you don't know what you need a permit for, call, yeah, exactly right, ask. And we won't have to go through any of this, okay? Okay, next, Charles Shea, 576 Buck Road, Fairless Hills. Please come on up.
Hello. Hi. Yeah.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I am, yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mr. Shea, do you have your proof of mailings and the proof the property was posted?
I'm sorry, just the pictures that the signs were posted, and then the signatures from the neighbors that they were notified of the variance that we're requesting.
Can I take these?
Absolutely.
All right, and what was the date that the property was posted?
I believe the 22nd
Okay,
of October.
great.
Okay, just requesting a variance, having a patio roof put on in the backyard. Had a patio put down about 3 years ago. Now had Mr. Treader come out to put the roof on, and when he applied for the permit, found out that there was no permit for the patio. Even though we had work done in the backyard, we found out that a permit was not pulled for the patio, and it may be over the variance, impervious variance, impervious footage. So we're requesting a variance for that, please.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
How far over are you impervious surface? Do you know the percentage?
He's at 51%, Jim, and he's permitted 40.
Thank you.
Ed, I'm sorry.
Another question. Who did the work for the patio? Who put the patio in? Did you do it? Friends do it? Or
I did
contractor?
not. No, I had a contractor come in and do the work.
Okay.
And I was under the assumption, and maybe shouldn't assume, but that a permit should have been pulled and was pulled. Paid him a lot of money, and now didn't find out until we had this gentleman come out and find out that there wasn't one with the township.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
What about the rear yard setback?
Joe, do you know what the rear yard was?
Okay.
Yes.
Side yard setback? So you're really not here just for impervious. You're here for rear yard and side yard, according to your application.
Correct.
Okay.
He's a foot off the side yard with the patio.
A foot off the side and a foot off the rear?
No, he's the rear yard's 30. I think he's 29.
Okay, that makes a big difference. I was like, wait a second here. Okay. Anybody have any questions from the board? Are you done with your presentation, sir?
I am.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Thanks for being respectful, by the way, too. Anybody have questions? Anybody from the audience like to come up? Public comment? Okay, call the board. Or give me I need a motion.
I'll make a motion for this project.
I'll second it.
Call the board, please.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Andy Gorilla,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus,
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Good luck.
All right? Again, never assume. As the homeowner, you're responsible for permits, right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Cheryl Lee Ham, 500 Central Avenue. Croyd. Sorry, Cheryl. I'm a little flustered right now, I apologize.
That would be me. Oh, sure.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
And your show me?
Yep. Have all your paperwork.
I'll take it.
This was, I posted it 16 days prior. It was, I think the date was the 26th of October. This is all the neighbors, including the one card. All the rest are just signed.
This is all the neighbors.
I'm sorry. This is all the neighbors that signed the notice that they got notice of the meeting. I included some letters with my original packet that y'all got, so I'm not going to repeat them. I do have petitions signed by 150 people. I made this up because these are, I'll go through it in the presentation, but I made one of these for each of you. It's the things that people are often concerned with for pet chickens and how I'm mitigating those situations. Here is my manure management plan required by the Pennsylvania DEP for manure. It's kind of silly for such a small amount, but if you have one chicken, you're supposed to have it. And here's a letter from somebody that just couldn't make it tonight, so.
Great.
All right, is everything, you got everything that I need to give you, right?
I do. So, Mr. Chairman, with all these documents, what we'll do is we'll mark the petition as A1 that has numerous signatures on it. A2 will be common concerns that I will give out to the board. A3 will be the manure management plan, and A4 will be a letter from Kevin Cagnetti, 2207 Lincoln Ave.
Okay, so moved.
I apologize for my voice. If I start coughing, I'm not contagious. It's mostly allergies. I'm Cheryl Ham. I live at 500 Central. I've been a Bristol Township resident since 1979. I moved to Croydon in 1997. A couple years later, we checked. Those of you that were around Bristol Township at that point, you know things weren't as formal as they are right now. So I asked about chickens, and they were like, no roosters, and blah, 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 and that was it. So I'm a volunteer for a lot of organizations, including the township, and we try to do the right thing. So that's why I'm here. Oh, it worked, Bob. This is our property. The highlighted in red is our boundaries. We have 0.85 of an acre. We're surrounded by 11 neighbors, which is why you have that big fat packet of all the neighbors. On this is an aerial. You'll see the circle is actually the chicken corral. We used to free range them, but the hawks are too bad, so we have a big giant cage for them. And the oval is where the apiary is, the beehive. Apiary, beehives. I'm a beekeeper. That's one of the things I'm going for tonight. This is the plot plan. Because the chickens have been here for 25 years and the bees for 20, I put them on there. I believe in your original packet that I submitted to the board with my application, there is a plot plan with and without those. So you have both of those. You can see they're pretty small in relation to the property. Couple things about honeybees, because a lot of people don't understand honeybees. Raising them doesn't increase the number of bees in your neighbors, in your property, or your neighbors, immediate neighbors. Bees travel far for their food. I'll let you read. I'm not going to insult you with PowerPoint presentation. Basically, when they leave the hive, whichever direction they're going, if there's an obstruction, they go up and then they stay at that height and take off. The which is why I follow the rules from the Pennsylvania Beekeeping Association. They have guidelines that are pretty strict to follow. I mean, it's a voluntary file, but you know, if you're a beekeeper, you're going to do the right thing. So my entrances are flying across the yard because of that. So they get their food from plants. You can sit right next to the hives and they won't even bother you. You can just sit and watch them. Just don't get in their bee path. They only sting when they're provoked. And I do Italians, which are a variety bred for calmness. They die when they sting, so they don't want to sting you. Let's see, that's probably all you need for that. So there's some advantages if anybody who knows science or whatever. They're super pollinators. Our neighbors grow flowers and plants and trees and fruit and everything else, and they help pollinate them. They'll travel a mile for pollen. So those signatures aren't necessarily on the bee page, aren't necessarily immediate. I mean, the immediate neighbor sign too, but even people on the other side of Croydon can be affected by the bees that I raise. They're finding now that because there's so many pesticides and everything killing bugs, that in some places where there's beekeepers present, they will actually, they're seeing birds come back that didn't used to be there because I guess bees are a tasty snack to the birds. Local honey helps seasonal allergies. I can attest to that. I do have allergies, but they're lessened because of the honey. Lots of people do. Wounds, burns, they take the itch out of mosquito bites. They take the sting out of yellow jackets and hornet with their honey. People do venom therapy. Some people raise bees just for their therapy, to sting themselves. I prefer not to be stung, but I do notice that after I am stung, it's noticeably different. You don't feel the pain. It's a natural, healthier option to sugar, and it's very relaxing. You can sit out there and just watch them come and go. So did I not click? Oh, there you go. Okay, so that is that's the general honeybees. On mine, I have a beekeeper's license. I follow the rules there. I've kept bees in the same location for 20 years. I choose to raise the Italians because they are gentle and they're excellent honey producers. Back when I was getting ready to put them in, I contacted the township and it was like, sure, I guess you have a big enough property. Turns out I didn't, but I followed the best practices, as I said. Education, you're always learning. That's just how we are. There's also a network of local beekeepers, and we share information and stuff. I don't sell any honey, the propolis, queens, wax, or anything having to do with the bees. It's strictly for my family's consumption and gifts for friends and family. I manage 6 hives at the most. My stand holds 6 hives. It's usually less because all 6 don't make it through the winter. And in the spring, you add more with swarms, because swarms are a problem for people, even though they shouldn't be. And we go out and collect the swarms. Let's see. I do have an EpiPen that I keep for anybody who's a visitor who might get stung and have an issue. I keep the EpiPen in the closet. I only open the hives a few times a year for full inspection. Some beekeepers open them like every week, but you kill them every time you open them. You watch from the outside, and if you know what you're doing, you can see what's going on. Full hive inspections I do a couple times a year, early spring, early summer, midsummer, if needed, and early fall, and sometimes late fall, but not really full inspection. I harvest the honey. I don't like to harvest in the spring unless I have to, because I prefer fall honey. But if they get honey bound, I have to harvest. I don't work the hives. If neighbors are having a party or other events in their yard, I try to be, because people are freaked out by them. In 20 years, I never had a valid complaint till this year. And as far as I'm concerned, it was invalid. Here's my apiary. You can see that they're away from the fence. The greeneries over the fence are not mine. And the height of those greeneries keeps the bees. So any bees that come out the back of the hive will go up over that, that brush and sheds and keep on going. They don't hop over. They mostly come out the front and across the yard and into our neighbor's yard who has some beautiful flowers, thanks to the bees. We do some education. The second picture, one of our scouts was working on his merit badge, and we had him over, and he did a, and by the way, I have an extra bee suit if anybody really wants to come out and learn something. It's open to the hives are real tall. If you go someplace and you see hives, they don't necessarily, doesn't necessarily mean there's bees in those hives, because we have to have many of the boxes for the honey, and then we take them off when we harvest, and then they get stored. So actually there were 4 there, the ones on the left, the 2 there are not. The only thing you don't want to do is you don't want to stand in the bee. They call it a beeline for a reason. And it's not because they're coming after you, but they're on a mission, and they're just going to hit you. What's up? I weed whack around the hives. In the winter, I put this tarp up, these tarps it helps with the, we have those weird swirling snows and stuff, and they get up inside the hives. And what kills a hive is either poisons or moisture, pretty much is what does it. This is just a copy of my apiary license. That's bees. So I put in for bees and my chickens since I'm doing this, and I found out the chickens don't have any record. I have no record in my file for the chickens either. We figured we'd go for both. So switching gears away from bees, or do you have questions on the bees first? How do you want to handle this?
Anybody have any questions on the bees? If not, we can come back to it. but
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So there's some advantages of keeping pet chickens. Again, they're pets. Little kids can get a daily chore. We got pet chickens when our son was about 3, and he had jobs. That was his job every night. He had to count heads. He had to get the eggs, the whole bit. It provides healthy eggs. I can't even eat a supermarket egg. It just, there's no taste to it. So they're very healthy eggs. They keep the grubs, mosquitoes, ticks, and lanternfly population down, very noticeable, and because they scratch and eat the bugs. The chickens are, amazingly, they are good mousers. The mouse shows up in their cage, they'll take it out. And actually they eat it too, which is kind of gross. They have really good personalities. They bond well with kids and older people and everybody around. They're not a nuisance pet. There's no barking. I don't have a rooster. They're not pooping on people's yards or any of that kind of stuff. And ours are contained in a large cage, corral, so they don't escape, so they're not trespassing in the neighbors' yards. We do allow the neighbor kids and adults to come in. They can feed them and hold them, and it gives them something that they don't usually have access to. Cuts down on the garbage and food waste, because chickens eat every leftover. They even eat chicken leftovers, which is even grosser than mice, I think. The chicken droppings are excellent fertilizer for growing fruits and vegetables. We have several people in the Master Gardeners organization that I've given chicken manure to so they can, it's very hot though, so they have to either liquid it or compost it. Whatever we don't have, we compost. And they can help garden they dig up the beds. A lot of people will take chickens when they get ready to do their gardening in the spring, and they'll put a cage around it and just leave their chickens in their garden, and they'll just scratch it up and turn it over and eat all the nasty bugs. This is just for giggles. Back after World War I and II, that was the big thing. They wanted you to raise chickens, 2 hens in every yard. So that was a thing, and that's one of their advertisements. I just put that up for it. So we have had pet chickens in the same area for 25 years. Never had a problem, never had a complaint. We used to free range, meaning they would go around in our yard. Any of them that decided they liked to be on the other side of the fence, we clipped their wings, and then that stopped. We mostly get big chickens, so they don't fly, and they're harder for the hawks to get. So right now, the group we have is happy and healthy. Their corral is 12 foot by 18 foot, and there's a 4x8 attached coop to that. More than enough space. And one of my other slides, I have the space that they recommend. We currently have 6 laying hens. Well, I should say 4. 2 are ready to lay any day. And we have 3 retired hens. I don't know how long those 3 are going to live. We don't kill them when they don't produce eggs anymore because they're our pets. So when they're done, they're done. But we know that we have no rats. There's no flies, smell, or any excess noise. And that I covered in that paper that I gave you guys with the mitigation, how we handle that. We clean the coop weekly. Droppings are added and soil bedding are added to the compost pile, which meets the needs of that manure plan. Because that whole idea of the manure plan is they don't want the manure to get into the sewers and into our lakes and things. The corral and coop are deep cleaned at least twice a year. If there's a reason to clean more, then we do. But essentially in the winter, we do what's called deep litter method. And what that does is it takes, you put the straw down or whatever, and then periodically you add more because it breaks down by them and by their droppings. So that creates somewhat of a compost. You know how compost heats up, and so the deep litter method heats up a little bit, gives them a little bit of heat in there. We don't sell our eggs. We don't sell chicks. We don't have a rooster, so we're not going to get chicks. And we eat a lot of eggs. And it was very exciting that we're starting to get eggs again because for 6 months we didn't eat eggs. Open invitation to the neighborhood kids to visit, and plenty of them do take advantage. Adults too, they come and visit. And we've never had any complaints from neighbors about the chickens. So this is, you can see our I know there's a pointer here, but I don't know how to use it. On the left picture, that's a aerial view of our coop. You can see in the front the clear panels that they're up there in the winter for draft, because chickens have to be kept dry. They don't need heat, but they have to be kept dry and away from drafts. And the yellow signs on the door, just because we had some squirrels that decided they wanted to try to get in there, and we just put those up. You can see the inside of their coop, their corral. They have things to climb on. Here they're digging for bugs, which they do very well. The chickens are lap chickens. You sit down and, they want to be on you. Kids love them. The kids come over. Can we play with the chickens? Here's one of our neighbors with the one. Little kids like them, big kids like them. They're fun. So our pet chickens and honeybees have been much more than, I'm going to read this because it's words, much more than a source of food for our family. They're part of our lives. Losing them would not only affect us financially, as eggs are a big part of our diet, but it would also be an emotional loss if we've grown very attached to them, as you would for any pet. I'm hoping to retire in a couple months. I'm looking forward to being able to spend more time with both the bees and the chickens. I don't get to spend as much time with the bees as I would like to. Hopefully you'll consider the request for variance. Over the last 25 years, we've taken great care in our pets, and the bees are our pets as well, without issues or complaints. We've committed to maintaining our pet areas carefully, ensuring there is no inconvenience to those around us. Our neighbors love both the chickens and bees, and we got a lot of support here for people that are liking our stuff. I gave you guys a list. I have over 150 names for both bees and for the chickens. I gave you 2 separate, because I didn't know if you wanted them separate. The board members are always welcome to visit. You can, if you don't know, you're welcome to come. I even have a spare bee suit, like I said before, if you want to, open up the hives. This is just supporting documentation. There's my I posted on 2 different gates, 16 days before. There's my certified mail. This is the document that I gave you guys. We talked about the manure plan. This is for the chickens. There's no noise. Occasionally the hens will make some noise after they're excited they laid an egg or if there's a predator, but it's not nearly what the dogs in the neighborhood are. There's no odor. We use a product called First Saturday Lime. It's basically barn lime with some other additives into it. It repels bugs and it kills the odor. There's no smell. I mean, you might smell straw, but you don't smell chickens. And I add that every week when I clean it. I add that, and then when we add straw to the corral, I add that in there as well. Flies, don't got them. We have them in the house, but we don't have them in the near the chicken coop. We do have a bug zapper that picks up anything else flying that shouldn't be around, but mostly we catch moths. There's no flies and stuff in there. We don't have rats. We check every day, every other day. When we put them out, before I let them out of the corral, out of the cage, I check and make sure there's no holes visible that anything is breaching that perimeter. They eat mice, so if there's a mouse that shows up, they get it. We don't have snakes. Snakes seem to be prevalent where there's a lot of eggs laying around. We collect the eggs twice a day, so we don't have anybody with the snakes. Chicken health. These are all, for the other people, these are all the concerns, different concerns that people often have with pet chickens. They're our pets. We take care of them. When one of them's sick, we handle it. We take, we find somebody who's knowledgeable, or we, make it so they're healthy again. We do keep, for visitor health, that's another thing that people are concerned with. We do keep a hand sanitizer in the corral, and when somebody visits, after they visit, we encourage them to use the hand sanitizer. I also keep the wipes, sanitizer wipes out there as well, because sometimes the little kids don't do well with the hand sanitizer. Fire is a big issue with backyard chickens. They don't need heat. We don't give them heat. That actually makes them ill if you heat them up, because then when they go outside, they can go into shock. Hawks, a hunt by day. We keep them in a secure corral during the day. They're locked in the coop at night. The corral's chain link. We have hardware cloth under the tarp. I remember, if you saw that picture, it had a yellow tarp on it. It used to be green. We have a yellow one on now. But underneath that tarp is hardware cloth. The whole roof is covered in hardware cloth. And we've had hawks try to break in through the roof, and they didn't get very far. The coop is totally encased in hardware cloth. We take a head count at night, make sure everybody's in and nothing's in the coop. That's one of those jobs that our son, who's now 28, he still does that job. He did it when he was 3. We don't really go on vacation, but when we do, we have wonderful neighbors over here that take care of them and love them as much as we do. Let's see, weather, we have a tarp over the corral, steel roof on the coop. Coop has fiberglass panels that we can take off in the summer if it gets too hot. We have roll down tarps on the corral to prevent, to handle snow and rain and what have you. Avian flu is another thing that people seem to be real worried about. It's carried by wild birds. For the most part, we don't get wild birds inside. Occasionally, little ones will get in, and then we have to chase down where they're getting in and take them out. But it's more the bigger birds that are carrying the avian flu. Light pollution is another issue. We have no lights outside the coop. We do light the coop in the fall because a chicken needs 14 to 16 hours of daylight in order to produce an egg. So they need some light. So now that the times have changed and that we're getting dark earlier, the chickens get lit, their corral gets lit until about 9:30. The back of the area has covered. So we have the back, so the neighbor directly behind them doesn't even see light from the, in fact, you can't even see into the area. The space, general rule is 2 to 4 square feet per chicken. We have 3.5 square feet for ours. And the most important thing is that the run, they recommend to have 8 to 10 square feet, and our girls have 24 square feet of floor space. The coop's cleaned weekly, I said that before. New bedding's put down along with the first Saturday lime. Newer and soil bedding is added to the compost pile. I don't need to read that, you guys can read. The whole area is deep cleaned a couple times a year, usually twice, where we rake everything out and down to dirt and put all new in. And all that goes into the compost pile. The setback is a little over 9.5 feet from the back property line. That's the coop, the back of the coop. There's a giant tree that's about 4 foot wide. I went behind, the neighbor can't even see the coop because the tree's covering it. We tried for 10 feet, but there's a big root in the way, so that it didn't set right. So we moved it a little bit closer. The corral is 18 feet from the property line. The coop is attached to the corral, and the neighbors never really see the chickens unless they come into the yard, because we have other buildings and such, and visitors are always welcome. So here's some pictures. This is the inside. What are you laughing about?
5-star accommodation.
Well, it is, don't you think? They have plenty of space. You can see they got some pumpkin treats, and the coop is in the back. It's actually attached, and there's a picture of the inside of the coop. What was that? I know. The bucket's from Kim. Whoops, too much. We'll go back. So they have plenty of digging space. The summer, we have 2 water fountains, these dog water fountains. In the winter, we do replace them with electric bowls. Like I had said in the mitigation under fire, the bowls are meant to be outside. They have a thermostat, so they're not heating the water. Even if you stick your hand in, it doesn't feel warm. It just prevents ice from forming in the water. And we use a heavy-duty outdoor extension cord, and that extension cord is plugged into a GFCI outlet on the side of the garage. And we keep the connections, the outlet part, the plugs, out of the weather. That they're brought up higher than that. There's just some pictures of Sunny's not here, but there's her picture. So that's what I have.
Okay. Well, that was a heck of a presentation.
Sorry. I was told I had to do a PowerPoint presentation.
I'm saying it's very good. Probably should have been a lawyer.
No, thank you. I'm a programmer. That's good enough. So that's what we got. So,
okay.
Any questions? Do you guys have questions for me?
So let's get down to the nitty gritty here, I guess that we could say. So, Bob, so she's got 4 variances here, right? So site area, is it the amount of chickens she can have? Is it the amount of bees she can have? Is it the amount of, like, they got, agriculture, like,
Jim, so the variances she's asking for, or to keep the chicken coops in the exact location and the amount that she has.
Okay, right.
Is limits for feet and per acre of chickens that she can have, but she's asking for relief of that.
Right. Okay.
And we still have a big lot, just not 2 acres.
Chickens is she over?
My guess is probably 2.
I think I read in a state I could have 8. But 3 of them are not going to be around much longer.
So you're at what, 9 now?
I have 9. Yeah, we try to keep it at 6. But when you get chicks, you have to count on some of them dying, because that's what happens. and none of them did, so.
Yeah, the code states that there is, 2 head of livestock and 100 fowl per 1 acre. That's way under the requirement.
Okay, all right. So then, let's go to building structure.
It should be 75 feet from each property line.
And what is it now?
9.
It's 10, basically.
Wow, okay.
But I thought that's why I was asking for the variance.
Right, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
no, I'm just trying to get
yeah, no,
all
I
the facts
understand.
here.
And as she said, the minimum site acre is 2 acres per 100.
Which is why I'm here. Yeah.
That's all the questions I have. So anybody else from the board like to ask any questions?
What,
Good, Andy.
did you get a violation? Is that why?
I did. My neighbor complained about the bees. Not
Oh.
the chickens. She,
We'll get to public comment in a few minutes, but, all right. Did she answer your question, Andy? Ed?
I just have a question. If by chance this is granted, can we put some kind of contingency on there where this individual seems very responsible? Can we keep the responsible person there, or just the bees and chickens go with her?
Well, I would imagine that's probably,
I don't think anybody else is gonna wanna do them. You mean not on the property, so if we sold the property, that variance would get dropped?
that's correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I have no problem with that, cause if I'm moving, I don't care.
All right, so deed restriction. If so. Okay. Anybody, Colleen?
I just want to note, Jim, I
Yeah.
know you guys said sale. Make sure we also include transfer.
Transfer of the deed? Or transfer of the,
Of the property. Any transfer.
from, okay.
So if she doesn't sell it, she just transfers it
To it, right, I got you. Okay.
Now, we have, on our deed, we have a, cause Smitty is here somewhere. On our deed, it's in both our names,
Right.
so, I
Well,
mean,
that would stand, that's, like, I believe they're saying like a child or, you know.
so if we transferred it to my son, he couldn't keep up, he wouldn't wanna keep up the bees, but he couldn't keep up the.
in front of the board.
Okay.
Not saying he couldn't do it, but.
Right, he would have to come back, understood,
Fair enough?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Bob, anything to, yeah, Colleen?
Sorry, at no time you do not anticipate selling of any product from the bees?
Oh, no.
Or,
First of all, it's on my insurance that I don't, so I'm not willing to risk all that stuff. No, I don't sell it, but I do gift it, I'll give away eggs or, get too many or whatever, but I do not sell any of that. So it's definitely non-commercial, they're pets.
Okay. I think we're, okay, putting the cart before the horse here, but we'll, take all that in consideration. Bob, anything to add?
Nothing to add, Jim.
Okay, thank you. Now, public comment. Would anybody like to come up?
You will.
Okay.
Hi, I'm still sworn in, right? Okay. Can you pop back to the first picture? I'd just like to clarify that
Could you
I
just state your name
have-
for the record? This is a separate application.
Oh, my name is Corey Lynn Burkute. I live at 501 Harris. The bees are directly against my fence. If you look.
Hold on, relax.
Here are the bees. This is my fence, this is my house. So this is my backyard, and that's where the bees are. I have no issue with her keeping bees. I have no complaint about the chickens. In August, the bees go nuts. I let my dogs into my yard. My puppy was stung. I stopped counting at 47 times. So she talks about the bee line. I'm pretty sure it's through my yard. My daughter's been stung repeatedly. My cousin was over with his kids. They've been stung repeatedly. I don't care, I don't care if she has the bees. I just don't want them at the fence. She has a large enough yard She wants to keep the bees, move them to the center of the yard, by her house, not by my house. My house, my yard is significantly smaller. That's the only space I have. It's affecting my quality of life. And she talks about the overgrowth. The overgrowth is to protect my daughter and my pets. So it's not about her keeping bees. I have no complaint whatsoever about the chickens. When I called to say what happened, I said, I don't care if she has the bees. It's fine with me. I understand. I'm an environmentalist. I have gardens. I have flowers. I understand the importance of having bees. When I moved in 2 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. I moved in to take care of her. She died last September. She gave me the house. When I was moving in the summertime, I saw her move the hives. She had some kind of beef with my mom. I don't know what it's about, but apparently it's carried over to me. So when I moved in, she moved the hives right up against my fence. And when I was outside working in the yard, and I'm like, hey, yo, I see that they're right here. And I made a joke about not being against a flamethrower if my kids or my pets are being affected by the bees. It was a joke. I would never do something like that. But the fact of the matter is, you can see that red line is my fence. That circle right there is the bees. My yard is much smaller than hers. I welcome her to keep the bees. I never complained about the chickens. With that size yard, she can move those hives away from my fence. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Come on up, Ms. Ham, would you like to address that, please?
Also, all these people don't live on our street. None of them.
Yes, they do.
They're all from the surrounding area.
That's not true.
Okay, all right, we're not.
That's not true. First of all,
All right.
okay, so.
That'll be enough.
I'm looking for the pictures. Okay, so as you can see, first of all, yes, she did say she didn't like my bees.
That's not what I said.
She didn't like the bees
Okay,
there at the
that's-
fence. She indicated that she was going to be cleaning that area. Okay,
Let's, hypothetical, can you move those bees?
I
away from your fence?
can, okay, we did look at the possibility. First of all, her mom loved the bees. So
That's not-
that was a
that-
perfect spot. That's sunny. I can move them a little bit further into the yard, but I can also put a blind up, which is what I offered to do for her. But,
All
yeah,
right,
I did.
all
I
right,
bought
now
all the
listen,
equipment.
Listen, we're not, everything
It's-
up here. So when you want to speak, you speak up there. You don't.
Got it. I don't
Okay.
want to do this. This is ridiculous. I
Okay,
just don't want them right by the fence.
then let's not do it then. If you don't want to do it, let's not do it, all right?
So what we found, we were discussing, we can move them a little further away.
How
First of
much
all,
is a
they're
little further?
probably, what, like maybe 6, maybe like 6 feet further, not, we could straighten them out. If you look on the plot plan.
Okay, wait. Let's go back hypothetical.
Okay.
How come not 12 feet? How come not 20 feet?
Because then it would be in the middle of the yard.
Then it would be by her house.
Oh, didn't we? Yeah, we already determined this, didn't we? Because I'm,
Okay, here's what we are looking. So the entrance, they recommend 10 feet for for the entrance. This is 11 feet. In here, the entrance is basically 14 feet. What we can do is move them out, this part like 2 feet, and this part will be like 4 feet. Well, we can straighten them out, and I'll erect a blind, a taller blind. Right now, there's a natural blind, which is the bees. But what you didn't know is that under that brush is a crap ton of yellow jackets who come at me all the time, which is why I have this, and there's a metal piece over here. The hives that she was referring to being at the fence were empty boxes. Remember I told you how we did, when they're not on, it's just empty boxes. There's no bees in there.
all right, so we're just, right now, we're just trying to resolve this, okay?
Right.
So let's say go with the blind. How high would the blind be?
Well, anything, as long as it's taller than, they recommend 8 feet, but it can be taller.
Bob, can she put an 8-foot blind in her yard without? No. Okay, all right, so that's, the blind's out of question, right?
Why is that out of the question?
Height restriction for 6 feet
Oh, 6 feet for a piece of material?
for a barrier or fence-like structure.
All right, 6
Okay.
foot, so we're going 6 foot blind. Okay, go ahead.
So right now, you know, I mean, I can do that, 6 feet, you know, whatever. I can move them forward. We actually cleared a spot down further on the fence, but this is really the spot that they need to be because there's sun all the time there. That's a really sunny spot. They need to have sun because you have hive beetles, and hive beetles take over in darkness. They like dark. So that's always a problem. That's why this is a good location. It's, you know, you can't put beehives in the middle of your yard. So I can move it further. I can put up a blind. In reality, you put the blind closer to the hives. So it would be like, you know, behind the hive.
Will this deter the bees from going into her yard, the blind?
For the most part, yeah. And I don't believe they were my honeybees
Listen.
that were stinging. But yes, it will, if you look up specs, there's actually some municipalities around actually say you need the blind to be there. And it prevents it. The neighbors across the street have beautiful flowers and a pond and everything else. I mean, they definitely go out there.
Give me your furthest movement of those from where they're at now.
Where's that? So we could probably move them the front, like I said, the front end. So right now, the front is 14 feet from the fence line.
Okay.
We could probably do another 2 feet at least, not much more, because again, then now you have your stuff in the middle of your property. We looked at other places, and that's really the only place that there's
So
enough
let's
sun.
hypothetically say for this board, they say, and I'm just talking from my own, I'm not talking for the whole board here. They say, the only way we're gonna approve these variances is if you move it more than 2 feet. Would that be an issue for you?
Without measuring it, it might be. But that with the blind, it is, I mean, that's what they use those blinds for.
Okay.
And I would also straighten out, right now, this is on an angle, so when they come out, they have a choice. If we turned it on straight, then they would just go right across the yard and into Joe's yard. So,
Okay. So give me your final analysis of this. How, you're gonna go 2 foot more, blind up 6 foot, and that's.
yeah, we can, I mean, that's reasonable. Now, here's another gotcha.
Reasonable for you.
Right, I get it.
Okay.
There's now, because there's been spraying of chemicals at the fence,
She
we're
has every
down
right to
to
do.
maybe 2 hives, and I don't know if they're viable or not. So that moving is a little bit easier at that point, because then there's nothing. To move a hive is a lot.
But if you want to keep these hives,
I
then you
understand.
may have to move these hives.
I understand.
All right? I'm not, and again, I'm just
Okay.
speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for anybody else
Okay,
in this board.
understood,
Okay?
right.
All right. Okay, so let's bring her up and see if she agrees to your.
Hey, hi. It's not even remotely 7 feet from my fence. If I lay down, it's half my body, and I'm 5'10". Also, I've never used glyphosate in my life because I know how poisonous it is. And that's also why I have that huge, if you flash back to the picture, that huge green wall.
Okay.
If I was using poison, it wouldn't be there.
Okay. Let's get back to,
The zoning says that it has to be 75 feet from my fence. Okay? I understand that is basically the law here, is it has to be 75 feet from my fence.
over here, right.
I am willing to compromise, okay? But she's already not 7 feet, and if she's gonna move 2 more feet, she might be 7 feet from my fence.
Okay.
It is too close. I am perfectly fine. Again, the bees are fine. The chickens are fine. Just don't put them in my yard. Because if you look at the previous picture, you can see
So with
the size of my yard versus, so all this space.
Right.
If she wants to keep them, let them put them by her door because they're basically at my back door. Okay, and the day that my dogs were attacked, they flew into my house. I had 7 of them. Not a big deal, but it's kind of a big deal. There were 7 bees in my house in the time that it took me to slide my door open and slide my door closed. They go nuts in August. I get it. You know what I mean? I avoid the backyard. But this past year, I had to take my dog to the emergency vet.
So what's reasonable for you?
Reasonable for me is 25 feet. Her yard is plenty big enough. 25 feet seems reasonable with her size yard. I mean, my entire backyard might be slightly over 25 feet. That's the amount of space that I have to enjoy, okay? And my daughter and my pets.
So, okay, we'll start.
So I'm just asking for just a little bit more space.
What does the 6-foot blind do for you? Does it help you in any way with that number, or?
I have no idea because I'm not a beekeeper.
Okay.
Okay, I only know that it's affecting my quality of life.
We're all trying to be reasonable here. That's what
I
I'm
am.
trying-
I am.
I'm not saying you're not. I'm trying to be reasonable here too, you know, but we're trying to get to a point where this is gonna,
All right, well, how about 15 feet away from my fence? Since the law says 75, I'll compromise at 15.
okay, all right, thank
That
you.
seems reasonable.
All right, well, listen.
She has a big yard.
I'm all about reasonable. That's what I'm here
I-
for. Okay,
I can go with 15,
okay.
but just for clarification, it isn't right up, what she's seeing up at her fence
At this
is
point, we're
not
at
that.
15. If she's happy with 15, you're happy with 15, I think 15 is a great number.
Yeah,
15 and a
15 is fine,
and a 6-foot blind.
and a 6-foot blind.
Okay.
A blind can be a fence, or,
Okay, listen, look, again, you're not allowed to do that. Please.
This is my first time.
I'm begging. No, it's not the first time. It's not the first time I've told you. So, listen, please, I'm begging you. Because I will, no, I don't need,
The scoffing and shit is just annoying.
but listen, again, we don't need it. Okay, so 15 feet, 6-foot blind, right? Everybody's okay. So-
Great.
What, we're not done, oh, whoa, no.
not done
Listen,
yet.
And listen, I'm gonna take a public comment, right? You're gonna come up for public comment. Under no circumstances are you to say anything derogatory about anybody that has come up before this board tonight. Do you understand that? Because you will not be allowed to speak, okay? Everybody good with that? All right, let's go. Public comments. Come on, ma'am, in the back. Please come on up. All right? And listen, we're not going to go over and over and rehash this whole thing. I think we are at a point now where we're in a good place, so begin.
Good evening. My name is Mary Beth Ghost. I am a lifelong resident of Croydon, Bristol Township. Mary Beth, Meribeth. Ghost.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
I do. It is. Can you hear me okay? I'm not going to be long. I'm actually friendly with both of these ladies. This is a very difficult position to be in, being friendly with them both. I simply want to state that as a resident lifelong in Bristol Township, I grew up when this was farmland, with cows in people's yards, and the goats and the pigs. I had pygmy goats, and my neighbor had turkeys and peacocks when my children were little. That we are reduced to being allowed to have 6 chickens is heartbreaking because my grandchildren will never have the childhood I had or that my children had. So I'm hoping that we come to a very good resolution here with sustaining the beehives. Cheryl's a big resource in Croydon. She's who gets called when people have a swarm and they don't understand what's happening. She's got a lot of information and she works with the local chapters and the children's information to understand how they impact the environment. With us investing more in green areas at the Neshaminy, at our walking park, at our turtle preserve, The bees are a big deal. So it's nice to have somebody who knows what they're doing and is looking out for what's coming in the future. I certainly don't want any neighbor to be discomforted or unhappy. And listening to this today, I really heard a lot of compromise, and I hope it works out.
Okay.
That's it.
Mary Beth, the reason we're at this position probably is because somebody ruined it for somebody else. That's probably why we're at this position, okay? And that's why there's laws in place that, because somebody probably ruined it, okay? And this, and Ms. Ham here was not, but, you know, now we're at the spot where I think we're gonna rectify this before the night's over, I hope. Okay. Couple more. Ma'am, come on up, in the purple there, or lavender, or whatever, I don't. Plum? Okay, plum.
Close enough. Jill Saul. Yes. So with all due respect, I wonder, and I'm not picking on you in any way.
Ma'am, you got it up,
Okay.
talk to me up here. not-
Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. There's,
Okay,
Okay.
so I wonder, it seems to me, and I was listening to this carefully, that I'm not sure she can identify a honeybee versus a yellow jacket. And my concern is that Cheryl mentioned that there were yellow jackets, and my concern is they're much more aggressive than a honeybee, and that her dogs and her child are being stung by yellow jackets that are probably in the ground. I'm not saying that's the case, but I wanted to throw that out there as a possibility.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Come on up, ma'am.
Am I good? Right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
State your name, please.
Kim Cunningham. Do you say that in your sleep?
C-U-N-N-I-N-G-H-A-M.
Just like Richie and Randall. So, how you doing? So I moved to Croydon, my business, about 6 years ago. So we started a Facebook page. Cheryl is very informative about bees. I couldn't tell you the first thing about a bee. So I'm sorry for what you're going through. I had the same question as her as far as the yellow jackets and whatnot. But my question is more towards you. When you say a blind, you can't go higher than a 6-foot fence, or a shade or whatever it is that you're calling it. I'm not sure what you are qualifying as that. The reason I'm asking is the business that I'm in, if I could give her like a mesh netting that she could install on top of the fence that you can see through, but the bees can't go through, would that then help to then limit the distance from the fence that the bee line, whatever those things are doing, flying?
So the term fence in the zoning code states barrier, structure, or fence. So
So,
I'm pretty sure that mesh.
a
netting
mesh
would consider
banner?
Barrier.
I believe Ms. Ham stated that that barrier would have to be right up against the hives. So putting it on the fence is not gonna,
It would just make it higher for the bees.
It actually would help. And I bought and actually offered, oh, sorry. I bought and actually have one. It's actually for shade. It's more of a tarp, like Kim was saying, it's a meshy kind of thing. It's probably similar to what
Yeah,
you're talking about. And what that is you can see through it, air gets through it. It's not a fence. You just mount it on a pole, and it doesn't even have to be all the way to the ground.
By code, if it's used as a barrier, it can't be higher than 6 foot.
that's right.
Could there be a variance?
Right, yeah,
For
exact-
that while we're here?
No. No. Absolutely not.
No, they won't.
Not like a buy one, get one, or no?
No, okay.
All right.
All right,
Yeah,
those are
give-
my questions.
yeah.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, one more, sir. Please come on up.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Say your name, please.
Bill Saul, S-A-U-L. Hello, I'm a former beekeeper, and I have assisted Cheryl in her hives, taking care of her bees. And I worked with a beekeeper, we had maybe 60 hives in several apiaries in New Jersey and a couple in Pennsylvania. And they were all the Italian honeybees. And the Italian honeybees are very docile. They only attack you if they feel threatened. They won't, they won't come after you.
Right.
But if you, like I say, if you open a hive, they have guard bees, and they will attack you at the hive.
Well, what if you're in the line, like Ms. Ham stated earlier?
If you're in the line, in the front of the hives, if you want to stand off to the side of the hives,
Right.
because in the front, they'll fly into you.
Right.
And most of the time, wherever the front of the hive is, whatever direction it's sitting or facing, they will fly away from the hive. They
Okay.
don't usually fly to the back.
So if you're in the line, will they sting you?
Only the guard bees, and there's not a whole lot of. I've like I say, I've been stung doing honey, taking the honey off and taking the supers back to put back on the hives so they can clean up the boxes. I've been stung over 100 times, but I was used to it, no reaction. And like I say, her bees they don't go after, like you say, they don't attack people, they don't attack animals, unless they were in front of the hive.
Okay, thank you.
All right, okay,
Yep.
thank you for listening to me.
Okay, all right, let's go. I need a motion.
Can we clarify
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
how wide this blind is going to be and how far away from the hive it is going to be?
Sure. 6 foot high.
Well, I would make the blind her whole property line. Like, I just don't want to hear it anymore. Like, I'll just put it up.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if that's even possible. Bob?
What is the blind made of? We can talk about that further. We just need restrictions on what it's going to be.
Okay, all right, so for the
I mean,
blind.
whatever you decide you want it to be, we can make that happen.
Okay.
And-
You're
And
gonna
I
work
can
that
put it,
out. That's-
I can
okay.
put it right at the fence line and, or I can put it closer to the hives.
I would,
But like Bill said,
we're not gonna rehash what
thousands
Bill-
of them come out the
Yeah,
front,
right.
not the
We're not
back.
gonna rehash what Bill said, okay? We're trying to clarify this for a motion. Okay, so they're gonna take care of that with Bob, right? Okay, we're at that, all right, so we got a motion on the restriction, transfer 15 feet from the fence line and a blind, no more than 6 foot, and you're gonna work the rest of the details out with the township,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
You fine with that if that's,
The only thing I do have, if those hives are full of bees, which I will know in the next couple of days, because I'm gonna have to open them up, it may be more difficult to move them. Like, I can't just move them tomorrow.
okay,
But we're going into winter. They're going into.
Hibernation.
It's kind of like a hibernation, but
Right.
yeah,
so,
yeah. So there shouldn't be anything going on for a while, if there's even bees in there.
okay, so
And then we need to work on.
is 3 months
setting up
enough time to,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
3 months? Sure. Okay, because
Yeah.
August is the big day, right? Like, August is when they go wild, so I mean,
They don't, but yeah.
okay, like, so.
That's
bees-
when the yellow jackets go wild,
He's
but
going,
we won't
he's
go
going
there.
wild. Okay, all right, so 3 months, deed restrictions and transfer 15 feet from the fence line and a barrier to be determined by the township. Okay?
For the bees,
For the bees. Chickens are,
not a problem?
anybody have a problem with the chickens?
What chickens?
What chickens? I like that. Okay, I need a motion, please. I beg you.
He's begging, he wants to get out of here by midnight, right?
I'll make a motion.
I got a motion from Andy Guerrillo.
And the motion would include the conditions that the chairman stated.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, call the board, please.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Oh.
Andy Gorilla.
Okay,
Thank
there
you.
we go. That's a beautiful thing, all right? That's how you do it. Okay, thank you very much, all right?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay. So, real quick.
Always a pleasure to see you.
All right, let's reel this in, everybody. Let's reel this in. All right, come on, reel it in. Okay, number 4 on the agenda is, and I state for the record, Gerard Lycon, 2622 Balour Avenue. So Gerard Lycon is a member of this board. Gerard is not here today. Gerard will not be part of this procedure right now. But if anybody on the board feels they cannot be fair in this decision, they can recuse themselves right now. Okay? Everybody good? All right, let's do it.
Price is only about like 500 anyway, so.
October 21st post. Here's an authorization.
I don't know. After that last presentation, I feel like I have to take my time. I got a standard to get up to.
You better step up your game, bud. That's all I got to say.
George's gonna hit you.
All right.
Proceed.
Good evening, Board. Bryce McGuigan here from Begley Carlin. I have the pleasure this evening to represent Gerard Lycon. Gerard, as the chairman mentioned, is not here this evening, so I will be his legal representation and his authorized representative this evening. We're here for the property located at 2622 Balour Avenue. The property is somewhat unique in that it's essentially, the one we're here for today is the one that's lined in blue to the top, but it's essentially 3 separate parcels. This is Gerard's personal home. What we're here for, requesting approval for today, is to expand the existing garage on the uppermost parcel. It's 0.17 acres. The garage itself is about 1,100 square feet, and essentially this would approximately double the size of the garage. This is entirely for residential personal storage only. This would allow Gerard to take certain items, including a boat and a small trailer, that are currently located outside in the elements and what might aesthetically not be that pleasing to the neighbors, and to put them inside a new and expanded structure. To do this, he needs a few variances, namely building coverage, impervious surface, and one for an accessory garage within 5 feet of a property line. Now, the reasons for this are because, again, we're talking about a small lot right here, and for whatever reason, we're dealing with 3 separate lots. These were all one parcel. The building coverage and impervious surface ratios would be in keeping with the community in the local area. And as you can even see from this aerial, there are quite a few accessory structures that are well within 5 feet of a property line. Even if you look at just generally speaking, right near Gerard's property, it's all over the place. So what we're trying to do here would beautify the area. Bob, if you could do me a favor and slide over a couple pages for me. One more. And as you can see, Gerard takes meticulous care of his property, and this expanded garage would be no different. This would look obviously far better than keeping certain items like this outside in the elements and kind of in the view of locals. This would put it all indoors, and again, it would make the area look a little nicer, and it would work from a zoning perspective as well, because Gerard obviously is very aware that he would have to comply with the stormwater management requirements here in Bristol Township. So with that, we're requesting those 3 variances. I'm here, so if you have a question, I'll be more than happy to answer those. And Gerard has the team over at Tri-State working on this, so they'll be the ones submitting permits and ensuring, Tri-State working on this, so they'll be the ones submitting permits and ensuring that the township ordinance with respect to stormwater management is followed. So with that, that concludes the applicant's presentation. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
All right, how much over?
So building coverage is 31%, where 20 is otherwise required. Impervious surface is 44.66%, where 37.9 is existing non-conforming, but 30 is required. And then the setback is going to be about a foot, where you have to have 5.
Is that foot adjacent to his, adjoining his existing or his other lots?
No, that foot it will be. If you're looking at this, his other lots are, no worries. The next one, middle one. All right, his other lots are on this side. The foot is going to be right over here, and his neighbor is on this side to the left. Gerard's talked to his neighbor. His neighbor, from what his neighbor told Gerard, has no issues with this. And I don't believe the neighbors here, but obviously we'll find out in a few moments.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Bob, anything to add?
Nothing to add, Jim.
Okay. Come on up, sir. Public comment is,
No, I'm for him, so I'm good.
okay.
He can talk if he wants.
I just came in case anybody had any, he asked me to text him as soon as it was approved. While he's soaking up cocktails.
Okay. Well, the risk of making this seem easy, I need a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Call the board.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Sorry. Andy Gorilla.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
Thank you very much.
Brian.
Gerard.
All right.
That's some hardship.
Yeah, you like that? All right, Vincent Torres, 3131 Knights Road, please come on up.
How are you?
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Bryce, do you want to do number 5 here? I'm sorry.
Or Chelsea, are you
It's
doing-
actually fine.
Oh, okay.
I have both of them, so that's no
Okay.
problem.
All right.
Okay.
Is that number 5?
Okay. Good evening. My name's Chelsea Jackman. I'm an attorney with Begley, Carlin, Mandio. I'm here tonight on behalf of JMAC Investments LLC, which is listed on the agenda as number 5. I provided Mr. Bidlingmeyer with the notice to neighbors, which I believe comports with law. However, unfortunately, we posted in the wrong location. In the abundance of caution, we wanted to request a continuance at this time for hopefully the December zoning hearing board, so that we can properly post to ensure that we are complying with law. And if I may, I'd like to see if anybody is present or was intending to be heard on this matter here today. Is anybody here for this?
Anybody here for number 5 on the application?
This is for 5th Avenue. You're here for it? Okay, would you mind waiting just a moment so I can connect with you? Thank you.
Okay. All right, you heard her.
Thank you very
I
much.
need a motion for continuance for September.
I'll make that motion.
I'm sorry, December.
Wait, Bob, is there room on December?
As of now, yes, Colin. Yep.
Okay, December.
Thank you very much. May I have one very brief moment?
Did I get a second on that?
No. I'll second.
Who made the motion?
I did. I'll second.
Call the board.
Andy Gorilla.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Can it be on a Monday or Tuesday when I'm off?
It's usually the second Monday of the month.
It's a preset schedule. So. I like your haircut, by the way.
I can't. I just can't. All right. Okay. Let's, Mr. Torres, Vincent Torres, 3131 Knights Road. Please come on up. Yeah.
Hello, there we go.
All right.
I'll start
proceed.
again. Chelsea
Yeah.
Jackman from Begley, Carlin, and Mandio. I'm here tonight on behalf of Vicente Torres, who is in the back of the room tonight. His daughter, Melcita Torres, is present next to me. She's going to be testifying on his behalf.
and with his consent, obviously, but in the event the board needs it, I have a document indicating as such. Mr. Billingmeyer, can I hand that up to you?
Ms. Jackman, I'll just mark this as A2. The certification of service, I'll mark as A1.
Thank you very much. It's a little one. Okay. Okay, so the tax parcel number that we're talking about this evening is 05052-081. It's 8,700 square feet located in the R2 zoning district. The property is currently an existing nonconformity. You can see it's right here. And the shape and size, you can see that the shape and the relative size is improved with a single residential structure. Just a thumbnail sketch of the background of this property is that the prior owner, as I understand, took a significant amount of time to clean up what would be described as blight, and ultimately never did so. There was another property owner before the Torreses who bought it in April of 2023, and their hope is to essentially beautify what needed to get done. Let's see if we go this way. Bob, which button? It's not working. Can you hit me to the right, please? Thank you. This is currently what the property looks like right now from the street view. And ultimately, what they're looking to do is to remove gravel and concrete and construct a walkway and additions onto the existing residential structure. In order to do so, they require variance relief from zoning section 205-26E2 and section 205-26E3 to allow side yards of 0 feet and 11.35 feet instead of the minimum side yards of 7 feet with the aggregate of 16 feet, as well as a rear yard setback of 15.21 feet instead of the minimum 20 feet required. I'm gonna go to the next slide here. Thank you. If you can see right here, here's the existing building. They're looking to essentially build out the space that's open there. And then I'm actually gonna go back if you, oh, there we go. If you take a look, it already, the existing nonconformity already exists over here. But what they're essentially doing or requesting to have a variance is pretty much keeping in kind with other neighborhood properties. If you take a look over here, obviously this is very, very close. And ultimately, it is the properties in the area stand to gain from the aesthetic improvements that they're looking to do on this parcel. So I'd submit to the board that the relief being requested is de minimis, that the variance requested will not negatively impact the surrounding properties. And as I said, they in fact stand to gain from what they're looking to put there. It also represents the minimum relief requested that will allow them to essentially beautify it. I have Doug Waite, the professional engineer on the property, on the project. If I could have him testify briefly as to what we're looking to do. Doug, or Bob, you got the mic?
Wait for the AITE.
That's all.
I do.
Give you some space and step over here.
All right.
Nothing here.
There we go. Let's see, we'll move to the next slide. At least I'll try to. All right. Okay, well, I'll leave it on here.
Only 3 total.
Okay, a couple of them got lost, but that's okay. So the hardship is,
If I may, if I could ask the board your preference. Mr. Waite has been qualified as an expert multiple times before. May I have a stipulation as to his qualifications?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Waite, I apologize.
oh, that's okay. So the existing building is located closer to the rear yard than it would be allowed if it was to be built today. And it's also located to the right side of the property line. There's a small corner, or the right rear corner of the building is actually over the line, the property line, by almost 1 foot. The building is cocked slightly, so it's just the back corner of the building. The applicant is looking to basically make a box out of the building, put an addition on the front right corner of the building, and in the left rear portion of the building, and that's to add a bedroom and utility rooms. Part of the improvements proposed have to do with the floodplain, so that house would have to be elevated to meet all of the qualifications or the requirements of the floodplain ordinance. The existing property is currently non-conforming with respect to impervious coverage. So the proposed improvements would include removing impervious, which includes a part of the gravel driveway. There are concrete pads around the building that would be removed, so that the property would be brought into conformance with impervious coverage. And the existing building area is approximately 1,300 square feet in footprint. It's a single-story home. It would be expanded to approximately 2,000 square feet, which would keep it within the maximum building area. So in general, or in conclusion, the proposed improvements would bring the property in conformance with the floodplain ordinance and also with the building and impervious coverage requirements.
Can you opine as to whether or not the hardship that we are seeking a variance on currently was not created by the applicant?
That's correct. It's based solely on the location of the building footings and the building walls as they exist.
Do you agree that, excuse me, I didn't mean to cut you off. Do you agree that if the variance is approved this evening, it'll not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, nor substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of the property, nor be detrimental to public welfare?
No, it would not.
And could you also opine, is the variance the minimum, does it represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and will represent the least modification possible of the regulation at issue?
Yes, it is.
And are all of your statements this evening to a reasonable degree of professional certainty in the field of civil engineering?
Yes, they are.
Okay. That's all I have by way of the engineer. If I could just have Ms. Torres testify, please.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I'll be back. Can you spell your first name, please?
M-E-L-S-I-T-A.
M-E-L-S-I-T-A, and your last name, please.
Torres, T-O-R-R-E-S.
Just hold that like this.
Okay. Melcita, you are the daughter of Vicente Torres, seated in the back of the courtroom this evening?
Correct.
Or township room, I should say. You've heard my and Mr. Wade's statements to the board this evening, yes?
Yes.
You understand everything that I've said?
Yes.
Do you agree with everything that we've said?
Yes.
Is there anything that you want to add to the board?
My family and I would really want to get this approved so we can get going with the house and be able to move in.
Okay. And you're willing to adopt my statements to the board this evening as if they were your own testimony?
Yes.
Okay. That's all we have for this evening.
Okay. All right, so they'll be moving in, they will be moving into this house, right?
That's correct, yes.
All right. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Colin.
Hi, Chelsea, the engineer said that they were gonna raise the house. How high up is it going to be raised? I'm sorry.
Mr. Wade, can you answer that?
Because it is in, I did look it up, it is in one of the flood zones there, so I just want to make
Correct,
sure
that's
that
the,
they don't waste their money.
Right, yeah, it's the AE zoning. Within the tidal flood zone of the Delaware River. The elevation of the base flood elevation is 11 feet. The current finished floor is 8.1 feet, so they would be raising it 4.4 feet up to 1.5 feet above the base flood elevation.
Thank you, that's all I had.
Anybody else?
It
Ted,
look,
Andy?
it looks like the existing house is over the property line from the plans that we have. Is any of the new addition also going to be over that property line?
The corner of the building that, yes, point out here. The building addition starts right at this corner. It's right on the line right there. So basically, the entire, all of the additions would be on the property. There might be an inch or so in that very top corner there that it is over the property line, but it could also be constructed to an inch off. So, you know, that entire building addition could be built on the property.
Has the property been surveyed?
Yes, our firm did perform the survey.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Andy?
What is the use of the addition?
What's going in right here? What's going to be the use of the addition?
Well, the building's going to continue as a residence. And from looking at the architectural plans, it looks like an additional bedroom would be located there. The other portion of the addition would be a laundry and a utility room. As part of the floodplain requirements, you have to lift the utilities up out of the floodplain as well. So that would house some of the utilities that need to be raised.
Melcita just indicated that this would be the area where another bedroom will be.
Ed? Robert, anything to add?
Nothing to add, Jim.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody from the audience like to come up? Sure? Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to approve the application as long as the addition stays within the parameters of their own property line.
We agree to that condition.
I'll second it.
Okay. Call the board.
Andy Gorilla.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's see. Chelsea Hayes and Michelle Zawinski, 4504 Newportville Road. Please come on up. All right. Yeah, Bryce.
All right, good evening, board. Bryce McGuigan again, here at this time for Michelle Binzuski, and we're here for the property located at 4504 Newportville Road. By way of background, the property is approximately 1-2 acres. It's located within the R1 residential zoning district here in the township. Now, we're here today to request variance relief related to work that was done before Michelle purchased the property. The prior owner apparently went and was remodeling the property, pulled some permits here with the township, and then wildly exceeded the scope of those permits. The end result is quite a bit of impervious surface that was done without permits. So essentially, what we're looking at here is it's difficult to see with the lighting, but essentially what they did was they added a whole parking pad to the side of the house. Oh, this, actually, appreciate it, thanks. So they did a whole parking pad right here to the side of the house, did a little addition of the porch, did a little patio here. And because of that, the impervious surface ratio is currently 65.5%, whereas only 30% is otherwise allowed by the ordinance. Now, there's a couple of things I'd like to point out here, apart from the obvious. So this property is located right along Newportville Road. So there are a lot of good reasons why the prior owner did this work, but unfortunately, they did it without permits and deprived this board of the opportunity to grant relief. So specifically, the property is right along Newportville Road. Obviously, you can't park on Newportville. There's this Nichols Avenue right here to the side where the property gets its access, specifically through an easement with this driveway lane through a neighboring property. So there's really not a lot of parking. So what the prior owner did is they added this parking pad so that there could be off-street parking where there pretty much didn't exist any, and a small patio area to allow for additional recreation space to the outside. And while 65% sounds like a big number, and I'm not debating the fact it's a large number, because this lot itself is only 0.12 acres, about 5,000 square feet and change, what we're talking about is a total delta of about 1,500 to 1,600 square feet. That's it. So since my client first found out about this issue back in February of this year when she got a notice of violation, she obviously did not expect this, paid the fines, hired an attorney, hired a surveyor, and started to get to work to try to legalize these issues. Went through a review from Gilmore and Associates, and our surveyor is telling us that we can comply with stormwater management, that will not be an issue, and that we can capture all the additional stormwater runoff that may arise from an additional 1,500 to 1,600 square feet of impervious surface. So at the end of the day, we have a somewhat unique situation where my client did not do anything wrong. When she bought this property, she bought it as is and thought all permits were taken. She did not do any of this work, was not involved in authorizing it, nothing of the sort. She bought this property as is, and ultimately this issue got thrown in her lap, and she's trying to make the best of the bad situation. Now, at the end of the day, a lot of these improvements, there was a reason for it because of the small lot, because of the lack of off-street parking, but they didn't do it the right way. So we're here today to ask for forgiveness after the fact, from what someone else did, and we're going to do it the right way. We have a surveyor involved, we've already submitted to Gilmore and Associates, and we can comply with stormwater management. And my client is aware that if for whatever reason, because of the size of the lot, she cannot comply with that, she knows that she'll have to remove whatever corresponding impervious is necessary in order to comply. Now, fortunately, the layout of the lot, even though it's smaller, does help. The lot slopes downhill rather aggressively towards the roadway. There's a decent amount of grass. The actual main pervious areas of the lot are located near Newportville Road, so this would be the area where a stormwater management system could be installed, and that's where the natural grade of the water goes anyway. So at the end of the day, we don't have any reason to believe that we cannot comply, and we're going to do that. We already have a surveyor retained.
You're not going to have to rip anything up that's already been done.
We do not believe that we'll have to comply with stormwater management. Now, if this board denies our relief, well, that's a different issue. So with that, I do have Michelle here with me tonight. I'd like to ask her a few questions, then obviously if the board has any questions, we'll be happy to address those. Okay.
Good evening.
You're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Michelle wants to know now.
One L, yes. You need me to spell the last name? B-I-N-C-Z. Yes. No, it's fine.
All right, good evening, Michelle. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to the board.
Hi, my name's Michelle Bencheski.
All right, sorry I mispronounced that last
That's
name a little
fine.
bit. I'm betting I'm the first person to have that issue. You're the owner of 5404 Newportville, is that right?
504.
Been a long night, my apologies. No B's, right?
No.
Okay. So you heard all the statements I made to the board a few minutes ago. Were they all true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like to change or add based on those statements?
No.
Would you be willing to adopt my statements to the board as your testimony here this evening?
Yes.
And you heard what I said, that if for whatever reason we can't comply with stormwater management, then you're going to have to remove whatever impervious is required so that we can comply with the township code, correct?
Yes.
And you're committed to doing that?
Yes.
And we have a surveyor who's already retained, ready to help, correct? All right. So with that, that concludes the applicant's presentation. And if the board has any questions, we'll be more than happy to address those.
Anybody have any questions? No? Bob, anything to add?
Nothing to add, Jim.
Okay. Anybody from the audience? Public comment, concerns? Okay. Somebody give me a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to grant it.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second.
Call the board.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Andy Gorilla.
Yes.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Retro Eats LLC, please come on up.
That's one.
2 minutes. Okay, Bryce, go ahead.
All right, good evening, Board. Bryce McWigan here on behalf of Retro Eats LLC. This is for the property that's located at 503 South Oxford Valley Road, Fairless Hills. The property is approximately 35,000 square feet and is located within the C Commercial Zoning District. If this property seems familiar to the Board, that's because we were here several months ago for the proposed Nifty 50s location. At that time, we requested relief related to impervious surface, along with other aspects of the project. However, since that time, we submitted for land development, specifically for a waiver of land development. And during that process, when Gilmore reviewed our submissions, they realized that our parking calculations were I won't say only partly accurate. They realized that our parking calculations were based on misunderstanding with the township. Specifically speaking, here in Bristol Township, there are 2 ways to calculate parking for a commercial property. The one is based on the number of seats in your restaurant, and the other is based on square footage. We did ours based on seats, and we thought that the square footage calculation was only based on publicly accessible or publicly available seating, when in reality it's based on gross square footage. So at the end of the day, we did not make any changes to our parking calculations that were originally submitted to this board and that this board reviewed as part of our application. However, we are here requesting a technical variance from parking to allow 38 spaces where otherwise 82 would be required for this restaurant. So at the end of the day, to kind of go through it a little bit, the way parking is calculated in Bristol Township, it's the greater of 2 separate numbers. So the first number is based on seats. And the way that's determined is you take the number of seats, you divide it by 3, and you add 1 for every employee on the biggest shift. So we have 90 seats proposed. So divided by 3 is 30 parking spaces. We have a total of 8 employees on our biggest shift. That's 38 spaces. And we have 38 spaces that are proposed here on the site. However, when it comes to square footage, you have to use gross square footage. Our gross square footage is over 4,000 square feet. Obviously, there's certain things you can factor out, but at the end of the day, we need 82 spaces. Now, initially, like I said, we thought that was only public spaces. We have about 1,500 square feet that are accessible to the public. If you do 50 square feet per space, it's 30, plus the 8 for employees, and we're good. But that was a misunderstanding, unfortunately, which we've learned a little late, so we're here today to request that variance. Now, at the end of the day, I know that there is concern amongst some in the community about parking at this site. Specifically, the shopping center to the rear, I know that they're represented here this evening, in attendance this evening, and they sat through some fun presentations in order to be heard here tonight. But what I would say is a couple things. So I'm representing Retro Eats LLC, and one of its owners is with me, Anthony Carotenuto, C-A-R-O-T-E-N-U-T-O. Anthony is the franchisee of the Warminster location. Anthony has been a franchisee for over 3 years. This parking number was not just taken because, hey, it complies with zoning. It was taken because we know what parking is required for a Nifty's 50s restaurant. For his restaurant in Warminster, he's aware of the parking load, and generally speaking, and he can come up here and testify to this, on its greatest day, its greatest demand, Saturday afternoon, they're never using more than 26, 27 spaces, and that includes employees. That's on their greatest day, and this is designed to be a very similar restaurant. Anthony was also approached as a franchisee of the business to acquire a different business, to acquire a different franchise of Nifty 50s, specifically their Abington location. And Anthony turned that down specifically because of parking concerns. That parking lot only has 23 spaces and has traditionally had difficulties with customers finding parking. He didn't want to inherit that issue, so that's one of the reasons that attracted him to this site. That's one of the reasons why he purchased this property and is now the owner. This is not some sort of a contingent agreement of sale, zoning contingency, nothing like that. He owns this property because he is committed to this and believes that this site will work from a functional zoning and parking standpoint. That's why we have Balour Engineering, who designed these plans, who's been intimately involved, and unfortunately they're not here tonight because of this relatively minor issue compared to what we were here for previously. But the 38 spaces, as a practical matter, would more than allow for parking for this site. We would never have a load of more than 30 spaces for our customers. And to be candid, as Anthony will testify, many of his employees either carpool or take public transportation, so the 8 employee spaces aren't always going to be even full of employees. So for any local property owner, adjacent property owner, to be concerned about parking, it will require us to go over this 38 space allocation that we have, which is something that from a practical matter we're not going to do. And again, pursuant to the ordinance, we would otherwise have to have 82 spaces for a restaurant that will only have 90 seats, which I hope I don't have to say to this board is rather ridiculous. So with that, I have here, you see on the board, this is our initial plan that was submitted to the board back in June. This is the plan that was the subject of our land development review. As you can see, there's parking along the front, parking right immediately in front of the building, parking to the side. We have some employee spaces to the rear as well that total the 38 spaces. That is a total addition of 11 spaces over what's there now. It's 15 spaces more than that other Nifty 50s restaurant we were telling you about earlier. And like I said, this is one that would comply with the seat restriction. And if the gross square footage were calculated for only public areas, it would also comply as well. So with that, I have Anthony with me tonight. And I'd like to introduce him to provide some brief testimony before the board.
Okay.
Hello. Yep.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
CAROTENUTO. Good evening, Anthony. You had a chance to hear all the statements I made to the board, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, were they true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, they are.
Is there anything you'd like to change or add based on those statements?
No.
All right. Would you be willing to adopt my statements as your testimony here this evening?
Yes.
All right. Now, I just want to ask you a few other questions before we open it up for questions from the board. So we're proposing a total of 38 spaces, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, how did you arrive at that number?
So the 38 spaces, when we were going through the civil plan review, there was 2 aspects that we were trying to optimize for. One was the demand that we expect from the community and how much of a dining room space. But the other thing is how much space we need to actually make fresh food. So that's why when you hear 4,000 square feet, you're like, how do you have 4,000 square feet? And you mentioned 1,500 square feet of dining area. Most of that's kitchen. Everything in Nifty 50s is made fresh. From the chicken, we get ground beef from Esposito's in the Italian market. We grind it up in there. There's a lot of space that's needed by the employees. Again, those 8 employees, there's 2 of them that are just focused on prepping food. And they're all throughout that kitchen. We have a lot of storage area for our paper goods and stuff like that. So we knew we would need a certain size building to serve the community. So we put that building there, and then we said, how many spaces can we get out of it? And we worked with Balour, and we did a lot of hard work with them to get 38 parking spaces, and then wanted to look at that and say, how does that compare to, and we just did an observation. I'm at the restaurant in Warminster very often. So I go out, and I did it over multiple weeks and looked at how many parking spaces around our building, because it's in a shopping center, and I never counted more than 26, 27, including our employees. So that made me comfortable with the 38 as well, feeling good that we squeezed as much as we possibly could at a pretty big expense that we're going to be partaking here to do the civil work so that it would work for the customers. We don't want customers to complain about parking. So. And we definitely don't want customers parking in somebody else's spaces. So that's something that we won't tolerate either.
And you know that if customers or employees parked in spaces that are not on your property, that's trespassing, correct?
Yes.
And that's something that legally speaking, you're not able to do and your customers aren't able to do.
Correct.
And if they did, you would obviously address that through signage and potentially, if required, fencing.
If that ever happened, we would work to rectify it, yes.
All right. Now, specifically, 82 spaces would otherwise be required. Is there any way you could fit 82 spaces on this lot?
No, not, well, I would say yes, but we would not make it a nifty-50s.
Be basically a parking lot?
We would have to sell the property, yeah.
All right. Now, with respect to Nifty 50s, you said you've been a franchisee for 3 years, is that right?
Correct.
All right. And you're familiar with not only just your Warminster location, but other locations, is that accurate?
That's correct.
All right. And based on your experience, would 38 spaces be more than sufficient for the use that you're proposing here on South Oxford Valley Road?
Absolutely.
All right. And based on your knowledge and experience, do you anticipate there being an issue of there being an under-park situation at this property?
You mean underparked by not having enough spaces?
Correct.
No, I do not see that issue.
Do you see there being a realistic issue that you'll be depending on parking off-site, whether legal or illegal, to satisfy parking requirements for your property?
I don't see that as an issue, no.
All right. And specifically, I believe you said we're proposing 90 seats, is that right?
Correct.
Now, generally speaking, how does Nifty 50s work in terms of tables? Do you have more 2-seat tables, 4-seat tables? How does that generally work?
In the whole restaurant, there are only two 2-seat tables. The rest are either 4-seaters, 6-seaters, or 8-seaters.
And in your experience, anyone frequenting those tables, how do they, what types of parties are you looking at here? What types of groups?
On average, it's 4 or 5, and most, from my just, knowledge of, speaking with people at the restaurant, they're usually carpooling in the same car for each table.
Like families or friends,
Correct.
that sort of thing?
Yes.
All right, so do you see a situation where you will exceed the 30 spaces that you have budgeted for customers or the 8 spaces you have budgeted for employees?
No, I do not.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this board regarding our request?
No, just thank you for having us back again. We didn't expect it, but appreciate your consideration.
Okay. So that would conclude the applicant's presentation.
Yeah, give me 1 second, all right? Refresh my memory, there's no drive-through.
No drive-through, correct. There was actually a drive lane that we got rid of on the one side because it was a bank. There was a drive-through there. We're getting rid of it.
No drive-through, overflow,
Nope.
interfere with the parking, none of that,
No.
that stuff, okay. Shift change, is there a rollover in the shift change? Is it the shifts like?
It's in and out within a minute.
Yeah, so, okay, so you say shifts 3 to 11 or 7 to 3:30, that there's no
overlap needed.
No overlap of shift, okay, all right. Anybody else have any questions? No? 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 Okay. Guess we got a rebuttal.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike Sheeran, and I have the privilege of representing Queen's Plaza LP. With me is Arnie Anderson. Arnie's the Executive Vice President, and we don't do this lightly. Well, first, I guess, Mr. Solicitor and Mr. Chairman, we'd like to be granted party status, please. We're obviously the adjacent property owners, so.
There we go. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if they're an agreed party, the board can grant them party status. You can certainly take a minute if you need to convene. If not, the board can vote on that and grant them party status.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Just so the record's clear, your client's been granted party status.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Solicitor, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So, as I mentioned, Arnie and his partners, Queen Anne Plaza LP, doesn't take this lightly because we're obviously in the same business, commercial development, and we wish Anthony all the best. But we felt it important to come tonight because of the significance of the variance and the concern of our property and the premium that parking is for our commercial development. So that is, and I'm going to, just as Mr. McGugan did, I will make an offer of proof and then ask Arnie to come up and adopt that, and you can ask him any questions that you have. But My understanding is that the plaza is fully rented now, and of course, everyone knows that there's a ShopRite there, which is a very active ShopRite. So parking is a premium. We also have concern with respect to the fact that our leases require us to provide parking to our tenants. There's a backstory that I've been made aware of, and I have had conversation both with Bryce and Anthony, and so has my client. And the backstory is that almost a year ago, a real estate broker who we believe may have ultimately sold the property or been involved with the sale of the property to Anthony, approached Queen Anne Plaza LP about the possibility of working something out, whether Queen Anne was going to buy the land and lease it to Anthony, working out some kind of cross easement for parking. Arnie and his partners looked at it, and unfortunately, due to their various bank documents, their various leases, and the requirement of parking, they had to pass on that opportunity, and they made that very clear. Whether or not Anthony had ever been shared that information, ultimately, we don't know. So the practical concern, and obviously I had the opportunity to watch the board, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for your practical approach to this. The practical concern we have is the edge. Sorry, am I doing this right? Yeah. So this is obviously the property line of Anthony's parcel. And all of this here is the Queen Anne Plaza. This is our parking right here, which is essentially spoken for by lease. And this area is our parking. Practically speaking, we don't think that someone that wants to go to Nifty 50s to have a burger is necessarily going to park in the far side of the parking lot next to the ShopRite. But we are concerned that all of that parking here or here could possibly be used. We have considered that how could we do, and the second practical concern is frankly upsetting our tenants, okay? And the final practical concern is, as any property owner has, is enforcement of that. Because we know that on a busy time, assuming there's the turnover that Chairman McMahon asked the question of Anthony on, or it's just a busy post-prom thing or something like that, that someone's going to go, and if there's not parking in that tight lot, they're going to park up here or park here. And that's going to become an enforcement concern both for the township and for Mr. Anderson and his company. So we've looked at what could possibly work. We still believe that this is a big ask, and frankly, we don't believe the applicant has met its burden for a variance in terms of uniqueness or hardship. The property can be used for other things. It's been used for other things. It's been used for a bank, for example. And I think he's asking for a variance to reduce it by approximately 54% of the requirement of the township ordinance. I know the township ordinance says, you know, one space for every 3 seats, but we all know that varies too. If 4 people are going to meet, 4 cars could come separately and meet there for a burger on a Saturday. But to the practical concerns and possibly a resolution, if this board is inclined to grant the variance, and again, we think it's a big ask, but if you are inclined to grant the variance, we would request that the board place several conditions on that variance. The first would be that some type of metal fencing that is compliant with the township be placed on the Nifty's 50s property, the Retro Eats LLC property, perhaps some, you know, a 4-foot metal fence that looks reasonable, looks classy, that would prevent pedestrians. Should I continue?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. That would prevent pedestrians from parking in our lot and then just simply walking over the parking island. The second would be that if the board's willing, you know, going to grant the variance and with that condition, would be that amongst the 2 property owners, that Anthony's property has to post the no parking signs, but I would like that Arnie, and I don't want to waste the board's time on how they look, but perhaps, you know, in compliance or in working with Arnie and his people about something that looks very tasteful, no parking, private property, something like that, you know. The final thing would be a condition that says, should there be some situation related to towing or off-site parking issue, and I know what Mr. McGugan said, that you know, it's not anticipated, but we all know it can happen, that any cost that arises from that, whether from the township or whoever, that the applicant tonight, that the Retro Eats LLC be responsible for that cost. So with that, that's my offer of proof. The other thing I didn't get a chance, you guys have a little bit of a different format that we often have. Most of my practices in Chester and Delaware County. But may I ask, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I can pronounce Anthony's last name. So may I call you Anthony, sir? Yes, sure. Okay.
Okay.
Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
The question should come through the board, and then you can respond.
Okay, okay. So I think I understand that there are 90 chairs in 1,500 square feet of dining area.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
And specifically the 1,500, that is just all public areas, so includes the vestibule, passageways, that sort of thing. But you're correct.
Okay. And I think the testimony was that that the maximum shift of employees, and I ask this because your ordinance requires a parking space for every employee on the maximum shift of employees. But I think Mr. McGugan's testimony was that there are 8 employees maximum for a 90-seat dine-in restaurant.
That's accurate, yes.
Okay. How many of those employees are working in the kitchen?
Sure. So working in the kitchen would be 4. With one that goes back and forth between the kitchen along with the servers. Sorry, and I just want to clarify, the servers actually do go in the kitchen to make milkshakes and drop fries, so they are doing multiple roles. So there's a little bit of a transient nature of how the Nifty 50's operating process works. That's how we're able to operate with the 8 employees, because the servers and the food runners actually prep some food too and create some food, because the simple food like milkshakes and French fries. Does that help clarify?
Yes, thank you. Anthony, what is your other franchise restaurant in terms of size, please? Like the dining area and the kitchen.
The dining area and the kitchen combined, so the whole square footage is 3,100 square feet.
And do you know what the dining area is in that?
It is 80, it's about 80 seats in that dining area.
Okay, and what's your maximum employees there, please?
The maximum employees are 7 at that one.
So you're anticipating 1 additional employee for an extra 1,000 square feet, is that correct?
That's correct, but the square footage, you're taking total building square footage, where the dining room space is only 10 more seats, which is where we get the additional employee, because the server will need an additional server for that space.
I see. So that kitchen runs with a maximum of 4 as well?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. May I call Mr. Arnie Anderson, please?
Absolutely.
Arnold. Anderson. Actually, it's SEN. Yeah. It's live. I didn't turn it off.
It's just live.
Yep. I do. Yep, perfect.
Okay. Arnie, would you, you heard the offer of proof that I gave to the board tonight, correct?
I did.
Okay, and would you adopt those statements as your own if we were to go question by question?
I do.
Okay. Is there any other points that I may have missed that you'd like to tell the members of the board this evening?
No, I think you've covered everything. I mean, again,
we like other businesses, we're not trying to be difficult. I mean,
Sure.
I
Okay.
am the president of the general partner for like 1,000,003 square feet of retail space and shopping centers, mainly in Chester County, and this, obviously this one up here. So I work with retail tenants day in, day out. I've been to many similar meetings like this. We certainly, I can't, in my position, I can't say we are for this, we are absolutely against it. So we've tried to present something to some kind of solution if
Right.
you guys were to ground it, but legally I have to be against it.
So let me, if you don't mind.
No,
So,
sir.
Say somebody shops at the ShopRite, right? Gets their food, puts it in a car, decides they want to go get a burger at Nifty Fifties. How do you determine that as a decision as far as?
So I find shopping centers funny because in almost all townships, everybody wants sidewalks everywhere. But when you actually go to shopping centers, most people carry the groceries to their car, and then
Right.
they actually move their car in the shopping center to somebody else.
Okay.
So it's having somebody walk from ShopRite to Nifty 50 is probably unlikely, but again, we're talking about a cross-park shopping center, okay? So
Okay.
if you take parking spaces right by Arby's, those people who want to go to Arby's are going to start parking closer to Jefferson Health, which is 11,000 square feet, who are then going to park in the ShopRite. So it's not, you can't just say like, hey, we're going to take some spaces here and somebody's not going to walk. It's one organism, if you will. So.
But could it benefit both businesses that, you know, the parking the way it is, or no?
No, I mean, it's our parking lot.
I
I don't want,
understand that.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
and it's,
yeah.
it's a fully leased center.
Right.
So it's, having another restaurant, I don't think that helps our restaurants. So like Julius has been there for maybe like 50 years. It's actually a crazy lease, but I mean, I don't think for them having Nifty 50s in front of them, I don't know if that helps them. So I wouldn't say it's, I mean, having a bank there was fine. Didn't hurt it, didn't help it, but I wouldn't say it's,
Just curious.
Yep.
That's all.
So.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, I'm just asking.
No, it's a funny thing, right? Because what is it called? The net effect of this is potentially them using our parking spots, and it'd be akin to me saying like, "Hey, my neighbor, you're not using your driveway today. I'm just gonna park my car in your parking lot. It's park in your driveway. It's kind of like you can't do it because it's not your property."
Okay. I'm sorry, I apologize. Continue, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I just want to just kind of amplify on that. Your tenant in ShopRite is a pretty demanding tenant, if I'm not correct.
Correct. So
Right.
our tenants are, some of them are very large tenants that have much more power than I do. So, and their leases are very strong.
They're very strong leases. Thank you. That was my next question. Okay. Okay.
Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. And,
Can I ask a few questions?
hold on one second. Go ahead, Keith.
Mr. Anderson, your title with Queen Anne Plaza LP?
I'm the president of the general partner.
Thank you.
And he's allowed to cross-examine the witness. Yes, go, Bryce.
Yeah,
You
just
might go.
briefly here. So, you know, as part of the land development process, and obviously we're here for zoning, not land development, we're proposing some pretty significant trees along the perimeters of the property here. Depending on the trees that are there, and depending on the style of trees, depending on shrubs and everything like that, that combined with no parking signs on your side, and again, we'll work with you on that, because I think we all want to make sure this looks good. Would that work for you?
We've asked for a fence.
But that's not my question.
No, it will not.
Even if we put like arborvitaes?
No.
You think people are going to go through arborvitaes? Like, I mean... No, I have a separate question, is if we do a line of arborvitaes...
We've requested a 4-foot decorative fence.
Look, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm really not. I'm just...
No, hey,
I'm familiar with the area. I've been to the Arby's. I have not been to the Bank of America. I'm very well aware of your shopping center. And I guess, you know, look, nobody wants people stealing spots, and we don't want to do that. But I know you don't know us from Jack from a hole in the wall. So we don't ask you to trust us.
Well, actually, I spent a long time with your broker telling him why the parking didn't work. So again, I'll make my point very clear. We're asking for a fence, and that's what we're requesting. So.
Okay. That's it. Thanks.
Fair enough. Is there an entrance in from Nifty 50s or Retro LLC to the Queen Anne Plaza
No, there's not.
It's curbing around it.
Curbing around it. And, you know, right now, there's parking for Queen Anne basically all along the sides. Now, this one, my client will testify, he'll attest to my statements, that this line here is not usually well parked because it's along the drive aisle, and backing out into the drive aisle is rather dangerous, so not a lot of people park there. You know, but look, I mean, at the end of the day, a fencing around this whole perimeter would be rather expensive, especially when we're already installing significant landscaping pursuant to land development. I mean, we'd be happy to make the landscaping denser, so that way if somebody wanted to park and jam themselves through some arborvitaes and shrubs, I mean, that takes a lot of dedication to get a nifty 50s burger, and it would look pretty nice. So, I mean, that's an effective barrier, not quite the same as a fence, but I think it would accomplish the same thing and it would look good. And we would also happily, you know, work with Queen Anne on certain signage, and we're fine with that.
And listen, we're not, again, how are we really sure that, you know, there's not overflow from Queen Anne Plaza in the Nifty 50s parking lot, right? There's no.
Have you been there?
Have
you seen there's been a vacant bank and nobody's parking it there? So it's, I mean,
I know exactly where it is.
yeah, I mean,
but you cannot stand there and tell me that that's not possible, right?
no, but the uses that you're changing the
Listen,
use.
again, no,
Yeah.
we're not trying to be defensive here. I'm
No,
asking a simple question.
Yeah,
All right? That's what I'm here for. That's
Yeah.
what we do. We ask questions. I mean, they might not be the one you like, but that's the question. That's the
I've
question.
heard many questions. This is
Okay.
not a bad one, so
All
I
right.
understand.
So, all right, okay. All right, continue whatever disaster you guys got going on here.
No,
So.
I don't think I have anything else.
I'd like to respond to Bryce's comment, which is just to be, you know, the fact of the matter is, again, we don't want to be difficult. However, this is our property, which is leased and committed in those leases.
Right.
So, and, you know, we've asked you not to approve the variance. That has to be our position. If you are, we would ask that you consider the three conditions, and one of those being that 4-foot, some kind of 4-foot black metal fence that's tasteful for both parties.
Okay, so say, listen, I don't know how you're gonna determine the towing and the cost of the towing thing. Who decides that? If you don't mind, May.
No, I apologize.
No, listen, the board can hear that conversation or no? Okay. Sure.
Look, I honestly, I asked, I said, look, if they really want the fence,
He asked
I
if-
asked, would you guys pay for half the fence?
He asked if we would split the cost of
And
the
they-
fence.
they
and
told
we
me
said, No, it's not, it's,
You're unwilling to reason with anything other than a fence, right? Is that clear?
yes, sir, that's clear.
Okay.
I think a fence is awful. It's an attractive nuisance. People with families, God forbid somebody goes to lift their kid over a fence because they're no longer putting the arborvitae's up and their kid falls. That would be on you guys. A fence is a horrible idea around a family restaurant.
Kids climb fences.
That would just be more of a deterrent of, or, not a deterrent, I can't even say, like asking a fence around a family restaurant where small children are gonna go. It's not, I don't think it's fair.
We're just, what we're trying to find, Ms. Dunn, is we're trying to find a compromise, okay, for Anthony and his application that protects our lease obligations. So we need some physical barrier, okay? And that's why we offered it. And we're just trying, so we're reaching out as opposed to having a pure legal fight between Bryce and I as to whether or not a variance of this level is appropriate.
Okay, so that's where it's gonna go if we.
Well, I'd rather it not get there because my client's very practical too.
Okay. Well, yeah, well, I think that there's some practicality to it, but if this is just gonna go to a legal battle in Doylestown or wherever, I mean, why are you just wasting our time here? Okay?
I'm not wasting your time, sir. I'm offering as an adjoining property owner our position based upon a request for a variance that is significant.
All right, okay.
James, I would like to add the fence protects both our interests and their interests. You were making the argument that what happens, somebody's parked in ShopRite, goes, walks across and uses
Right.
them. So this protects both our interests.
Then
So,
pay for half of it.
no, we want, because they're asking for, so, excuse me, no, they're asking for a variance. We are not in here asking for anything. So we're here just trying to defend our rights as a property owner. We're not, they're asking for something.
Okay.
So you put conditions on many other applicants, so we're not asking for that much.
Bob, what do you got? Anything?
I got nothing to
Okay,
add.
I need a motion. Let's get this, oh, absolutely.
So listen, like, we really like this property. We really like the opportunity to come in.
Right.
And we'd prefer not to obviously have a legal battle. If it's really the cost of the fence and you guys can be amenable to the fence and no parking signs, then we'll make that happen, right? Like, we care that much and want to come to this location that much and serve the community. So we're willing to pay for the fence. We're willing to come up with a plan on where that fence goes, where it makes sense, where there's parking spaces. I do have concerns, just about people jumping it, getting hurt. But if that's the case, then it protects your interest. And we can talk about how we put the no parking signs again, would make sure this is all tasteful. But if that's what it takes to get this completed, then we're willing to do it.
Okay, well, a long road to get to this spot, I'm sure, but, okay, there you have it. Motion, please.
I have one more question for you, Bob. Is there an ordinance against the fence going up on that property there?
No, as long as
Is there an ordinance against putting a fence around that property?
it's within the zoning standards, it doesn't cause a traffic visibility issue, then no, there is not.
Okay, thank you.
All right, hit me with it.
I'll make a motion for.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, with the condition of the fence. I'm sorry, I apologize. With the condition of the fence like you agreed to.
That's all the conditions, right? Just the fence
And parking signs.
and the parking signs. Okay.
I'll second.
Oh, hold on.
All right. You agree to both conditions, the fence as stated and as testified to, and also the no parking signs that'll be discussed amongst applicant, Mr. McGuigan, and the attorney representing the member who received party status.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't explain it that way.
Thank you. I believe there's a first and a second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Call the board.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Andy Gorilla.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.